segments. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. So we've been at this for 12 months now.
It's wild.
Because I should have had it in front of me, but when was the first time that we spoke about it on the potty? Was it like episode 3 or I don't know? It was like really early days.
All I know is other podcasts and like YouTube channels will probably cover this in like a month, and we took 12 months to do it.
Well, we're learning, this is just a little indie podcast, so don't put too much pressure on us. So yes, we have covered the other 4 games in the Donkey Kong Country series, and now this is our retrospective of the 5th and final at this stage console entry, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
So I'll just clarify, our first the retrospective started in episode 5, which was in the 16th of August last year.
Oh wow, okay, wow, that's
Nearly 12 months.
That's kind of crazy, dude. That's kind of crazy. And it's been awesome to go back and play these games. Like, just as the series as a whole, it's just absolutely incredible. Definitely no bad games in the bunch. But certainly some probably would reach heights greater than others. So, Mike, let's we all have the mandate. Play this game, finish it. It's not too long. 11. I think I finished it in 9 hours or something like that. And went back and played a bit more of it. We'll cover that a little bit later. We all take the podcast pretty seriously. Massive growth on the channel, massive growth in the, we could probably have to bloody put a Patreon up. I'm assuming we'll have a couple hundred Patreons straight away. Yep. You've had a lot of gaming this week. Obviously it's a big priority. So where'd you get up to in this game? Finished it, of course. Did you 100% it?
No, I did not 100% it. No, I didn't. Yeah, I wanted to. Obviously, it was my goal to 100% this game, but unfortunately, couldn't quite do it this week. Yeah.
Couldn't quite. Okay, chose not to.
No, yeah. I was a little way off finishing it this week.
So where'd you get up to?
It was a really good experience. I have to admit, it was a fantastic experience while I played it this week. Yeah, I'm glad I did. It was a very enjoyable, thoroughly fun experience. Getting to the end of World 1.
Oh, man.
That's so bad. That's so bad.
Honestly, I got stuck.
It's a hard game.
No, but I got stuck like, okay, this is going to sound really stupid and might as well get me out of the way so we can talk about it properly between mostly you two. Super enjoyable experience. And then I get to the part where you have to swing off a vine, and then for whatever reason, I can't jump off it. Like, I just keep dropping straight down. And I tried everything, and I'm like, what am I supposed to press? How dumb can I be at this game?
But when you're holding onto a vine in this game in Returns, you just hold across and press A, and it's like it's like a canned distance that you always travel it's like an automatic jump when you jump off the vines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
in any case, I'm needed, but I will eventually.
You are the reason why they created funky mode in the Switch version, which Swinny and I did not touch. Classic mode, of course.
So to do it this game proper justice, I think you two being fans of the series, having played all of the previous ones, I think you 100%ed most of the games, if not all of them.
No, not me. Swinny, maybe.
So I've definitely 100% the original SNES trilogy. I didn't for Returns, but just to clarify, so I played this on the Wii U. So there was no funky mode on the Wii U anyway. So I played this on the Wii U. You both played on the Switch, is that correct?
Yes.
I
used DK though. I didn't use funky.
Yeah. No, just clarifying. So we kind of have a gauge of if there's any differences there. We kind of know that, the Wii U and Switch and whatever. But yeah, I completed the game. I definitely didn't 100% it. It's kind of similar to Donkey Kong Country Returns in the fact that I was just happy to just play through and just experience it that way. So.
Yeah, I'm just actually checking what percentage I got. We'll cover an overall thoughts shortly. Really enjoyed the game. It was kind of weird because I felt like, just like a quick overalls comment, I actually watched a few YouTube videos just to see what the special levels look like. And I think I would actually like them the most. Yeah, just checking the percentage. I was like 68% at the end of the game. I don't know what you landed on, Swinny.
Well, I was skipping all the bonus stuff anyway.
No, fair enough.
Yeah.
I wasn't playing specifically to find everything. I was just playing through it and then went back and played a little bit more. I have to say, like, getting all the secrets, it's bloody hard in this game, man.
Well, do we just want to talk about difficulty now?
Yeah. Let's go into it. Yeah.
So let me finish this whole thing before you jump in.
Mhm.
This game had a much better difficulty curve for me than Donkey Kong Country Returns. So if you think back, if you remember, when Donkey Kong Country Returns, I felt that the first 80% of the game was like really kind of easy, and then the hard part just came right at the end. There was no real curve for me, whereas this was much better. But overall, this is a much more difficult game than Returns. So I don't blame you, Mike, for struggling with this game at all, because it kind of even like World 2, World 3, that stuff ramps up pretty quickly. But to me, it is a better curve.
I think I got to try Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Wii, because I think that Donkey Kong Country Returns was harder than this game. So I do wonder if like the 30 FPS or just the differences with the 3DS game and the more cramped, controls like had an influence. And I don't think it's like a huge difference. And I agree with your overall assessment, Swinny, that Returns has a ridiculous like curve. Like it's stupid the way it goes. Like I was getting through it pretty comfortably, and then the end was ridiculous. Whereas this, the way I'll just say, I don't think it's like super hard or anything like that. It's just I wouldn't get through like unscathed like in a Mario game. Like I could go for a long run without dying in a Mario platformer. Whereas this, a lot of times I'd be dying and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm kind of learning the level as I die as well. So,
well, a lot of those deaths for me were not because of my skill. Honestly, I actually.
What are you blaming it on?
I should say as well, look at this. I got this cool Donkey Kong Country shirt. I forgot to say it in the last segment.
Because I definitely there's levels where I'm like, oh man, I need to execute this better. I actually really struggle with this game. I hated this game at first. I thought the first half of the game was terrible.
Wow.
You can't blame me all that much for getting stuck.
There's like the amount of times when I would just like, to me, this game took the worst aspects of the first Donkey Kong Country Returns, because this is essentially like those two games. I treat them almost as separate games from the original trilogy. They play completely different. To me, it takes some of the worst aspects that I didn't like from Returns and doubles down on them. So my hatred for the way that the character mechanics work, and that you swap, and then you've got a double jump or a hover, and then you don't have it when you don't have or Dixie or whatever.
Yeah,
they doubled down on that, which is what I didn't like from Returns. And just like, we'll get to the bosses. The bosses is one of the biggest issues I have with this game.
I want to chat about the bosses, dude. Yeah, I want to chat about the bosses.
Yeah. But to me, it's like a lot of the time, it's just something about the controls just weren't gelling with me. But a lot of those deaths it's because I was expecting to hover in the air. And I'm like, for whatever reason, I couldn't get used to the fact that you're constantly changing what the jumping mechanics are. Yeah. And because it's so different now, because they added these extra characters to it, like I avoided Cranky at all costs until the last boss.
So, but Cranky's kind of the best character, but so can we just talk about the characters, because we keep touching on it. We've got Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong, Cranky Kong. Diddy has like a hover that kind of like doesn't elevate, but just like keeps you smooth and go down a bit. Whereas Dixie has the flutter jump type thing where it lifts you up a bit more and then hovers. And then Cranky, it's more the pogo stick where you can get that really bouncy, almost second jump, for lack of the better word.
Yeah, it's very DuckTales-y.
Yeah, 100%. DuckTales is, the best way to describe it. So, and all of them are different mechanics. So you basically got like 4 movement mechanics depending on what you're doing. Like, and honestly, I just am random. So whenever I get to the barrels, I just throw them. I don't care who I get as a character, and I just deal with it. Like, that's the kind of way that I played it.
I did learn that, because you can't, when you pick up barrels in this game, you can't put them back down. So if I went to pick it up, I'm like,
I know, I hated that.
Yeah. But what I did like is, because it just, sometimes it'll just be one character and you can't choose anything else, but other times it'll rotate. And what's good is you can actually ground pound to stop it and then change it to anything if you don't want to like time it. But I just found that Cranky was just, to me, being able to hover, whether or not it's like the more vertical one with Dixie or Diddy, like that was what I wanted. And I was constantly playing through levels with that mentality. And then when I would, essentially, it's the biggest issue, and the same with Returns, is when I would restart at a checkpoint and then
You don't have it, yeah.
automatically assume that I'm going to be able to hover, and then I just fall in a gap.
It's
And
funny, in my short period of playing, that's exactly what I experienced as well. And it's strangely frustrating.
And that's why, to me, like if they had done something a bit different there, it would have been much more appreciated for me. But the other deaths that I was talking about are, for some reason, the levels, they're beautiful in this game, right? But there's so much going on that there's a lot of times when I thought there was a platform and I went to jump on it, and it was actually part of the background.
Oh.
And I probably died like 10 times in different situations where I thought I could actually land on something. Not in every level. There's certain levels where I'm like, oh, well, I'm dead, I guess. So that's not a platform, you know?
I must admit, there's probably only maybe 2 times that I can recall that happened to me. So it's not like, I could see it happening.
It's not a huge issue.
Yeah. But just quickly touching on the controls, because for me, I actually, like, to be fair, I did have issues with the controls. And then I don't know if this was the same as the Wii U, but you could swap the orientation of the controls. So you can't, I actually really wanted to map the controls how I wanted them. You can't do that. At least on the Switch version, you can go with the kind of classic or, original, whatever they call it, and an alternative control mode. So basically just flips around the roll and the ground pound and the grab from like the trigger like bumpers to the X and Y buttons. And to me, that felt way more natural. And I didn't have issues with the controls after that.
So I was playing with the Wii U Pro controller.
Yep.
And I was making notes as I was playing, and in caps, I'm like, why the fuck can't they let me use the D-pad on this thing?
Oh, you can't use the D-pad?
Not on the Wii U Pro controller.
Oh, shit. So you can on the Switch.
I had to use the analog stick, and it's not horrible.
That's bad. That's bad.
And dude. I'm like, it doesn't serve any other purpose. Why would you not allow the person to use it?
Yeah.
But just like on the control, the only other thing with the control is, and I got used to it eventually, but a lot of the time I would expect when you go to roll, a big part of this game is you're rolling and you can jump because you can jump in the air after a roll and stuff like that. And a lot of you can't, like, it takes a while before you can adjust back from a roll. So often I would overshoot where I was going for. So I just didn't like the roll mechanic as much. But look, anything is better than using the bloody motion controls on the returns for me. So like in general, I was happier from the control step.
Yeah, and just quickly on the roll, I did find sometimes I was trying to roll and it didn't trigger. And I think the way it's probably on me. It's not saying that it was coded incorrectly, but from a game feel perspective, it didn't feel quite right. Like, that's the biggest thing I didn't like about the controls. The initiation of the roll itself felt a bit like you had to really have a bit of forward momentum before you could roll. And then sometimes I didn't really it just didn't feel right to me, like that aspect of it. So I don't know. Do you want to talk about some levels or the thoughts on levels and stuff? Yeah, let's talk about something nice, like the levels, graphics and stuff, and then we'll loop back to the bosses because I've got things to say.
Well, I've got a lot of my notes. There's a bit of a mixed thing, but levels. Look, as I said, this is the exact opposite of DKC Returns for me. So with that game, I love the first 60% of the levels, and then the last part, I remember saying they felt like they were made by a drunk intern. For me, it's almost the opposite. Like, I didn't like the first half of the game, but as soon as you hit level 4, and I'm like, oh, these are the levels I was wanting to play. I really like, especially level 4 and 6. I thought pretty much all the levels except the second to last one.
I mean, World 4 and 6, or are you saying 4 and
World
4, 6?
4 and World 6.
Okay, yeah, cool.
So World 6, which is the last level, I thought had easily the best stages. I love them, with the exception of the last one, which is a Rambi level. Let me just talk about Rambi for 1 second.
Yeah. And we should just say about the animal buddies in general, right? Like, it's been a big feature of the games, but in this game, it only has Rambi.
Yeah, which is a bit disappointing. But I was really struggling with Rambi throughout all the levels that he's in, and I got stuck on the last level. So last level before the last boss, which there's a part where lava's chasing you, and I'm like, I just could not beat it. I'm like, what is going on? And you know what it was? I was getting so frustrated. I lost like 30 lives. It's because I didn't realize you can continuously run by mashing the button.
Yeah. I just mashed the
And when I learned that, I'm like, oh, now it's easy. So that's on me. I'm not going to say that's there was a way, but the game honestly didn't feel like it taught me that.
I have to say with this game, and like I think we'll actually disagree about this game ultimately, but just in terms of overall thoughts, it just felt like it wasn't play tested or they responded to the play testing. Because I think you and I are like decently skilled players at platformers and games in general. And I just felt like the game at times didn't feel right. Like that's one thing about Nintendo. Normally I would always say their games have feel very refined, the way that they feel, and you move the character and what you expect the character to do based on what you're doing. And this game, there was so many times I had the same experience as you where I'm like, oh, I'm doing this wrong, but I feel like the way I'm doing it should be the way it should be done. Like mashing, because I worked out the mashing thing pretty early on, but I'm like, it just feels wrong. Like with Rambi to be, oh, I have to keep on mashing the button to run faster. It's like,
yeah,
why?
I thought you had to time to repress it when he was slowing down again, and I just found I wasn't able to survive, and I'm like, then I actually had to, I looked it up. First time I looked up anything about these games, like I just looked up someone doing it. I saw them continuously running.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, then I just figured out, okay, well, I keep mashing it. But look, I love, once again, I love the minecart levels. There's not that many in this one, but I love them. Retro have a real knack for creating these cool environmental set pieces, and you see it in all the levels. Honestly, like nearly every level in the game is like quick run, everything's collapsing. So I think they rely on it a bit too much sometimes. Sometimes you like, because the original Donkey Country games weren't like that. There were some levels where we definitely had to escape or run, but you felt like you had more time to actually kind of approach each area. But I mean, it looks great. The levels look amazing. So
yeah, look, and I've shared my thoughts on the minecart levels in the past in our retrospectives. I'm not a big fan of the minecart levels. I totally understand they're iconic. I don't think it's as bad as like, how the turbo tunnels are iconic for Battletoads. It's really more infamous than, famous, but I'm not a huge fan of the minecart levels anyway in the Donkey Kong Country series. To me, these are probably some of the best ones. Same with Returns. But I'm just not a big fan of it. I actually like the rocket levels more than the minecart levels.
I thought the rocket levels were really good in this.
Yeah, I think that to me was such a cool addition, and the way that they've done it. That's what I actually like about it. Just on the levels itself, totally agree with your thought about World 6. It's really weird in a video game where the ending is better than the beginning. And I don't share the view. Like for me personally, I think all the levels are very great and very good standard of levels. It's just that World 6 is clearly the best world. And normally with a game, you're just like, well, most people won't get up to the end of a game. That's just how games work, right? Like look at Mike, right? So
I'm still going to play it.
No, I doubt it. But
you'll see.
I'm just the realistic version of you on your shoulders. But with World 6, it's like, it feels like they put a lot of love. And I don't know if you noticed, Winnie, but it is like an homage to Donkey Kong Country Returns.
It is.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I know that these games aren't like this, and if it's like this in the extra levels that I haven't seen in either game, I do wish there was more callbacks to the original trilogy, but I know that's not what this is. This isn't a nostalgia fest. This is its own stuff. But yeah, World 6 was great. Like Forest Folly was just, to me, my favorite level in the game. That was,
what number was that?
I'm not sure exactly.
Okay.
I think it was probably 6-4 or something. It was basically all about, it was a simple idea of you're bouncing off things and holding onto grass, and then they swing around, and then you launch from, you bounce off them again. It just felt right to me. And Cliff Side Slide, which is that black and white
that's
level.
such a cool level. Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. It has just awesome soundtrack. But I actually really love the water levels in this game. I don't love specifically the way the water controls work, but I love the levels.
So on the controls, I use D-pad for the entire game except the water levels. I switched naturally back to analog to control it better. For me, just like the 3 levels I want to shout out, I'll go to World 4 in a second, but 5-4, so World 5, Level 4, Jelly Jamboree. Don't know if you remember that.
I've got that in my list,
Yeah, I love that one. I love the fact that you're like, it's kind of pure Nintendo. Here's a mechanic. We play around with it in the level. You need to play around with it to finish the level, and then we never come back to it ever again in any other level. Like, it's just the stuff I love in platformers, and it's just such a fun, bouncy level, like literally and figuratively. And then the other 2 I just wanted to shout out, also in World 4. I mean, World 6, I almost love all the levels in that. share kind of your same thoughts around the last one, 6-8, but 4-3, which is a Miss Abyss. It's the one with a like beautiful atmospheric silhouetting. You're going in and out. It's just visually a treat and just a real fun level. And then the very next level as well, I rate 8, so that's 4-4, where you've got this crazy octopus chasing you throughout the level. Just like such a cool level. I really enjoyed those ones. World 4 was really a highlight for me as well.
Yeah, honestly, once I was not having fun playing this game. Honestly, I was struggling. I'm like, I play through one world a night, and I'm like, and then when I got to World 4, I'm like, this is what I was waiting for, and it's just a personal thing, A lot of people are probably gonna love the levels, but and then it's World 5 was sold and World 6 just killed it. So I'm like, okay, this is stuff that I wanted and kind of really saved the game for me. And I don't really have any levels I hated with the exception of maybe the last level that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But I think my hate came from my experience once I learned Rambi could run. That's fine.
Yeah.
So I don't hate any levels, just it was kind of, to me, like Returns was so impressive to me with the level design that a lot of this felt kind of just like more of the same until we got to those later levels.
It definitely didn't use as much of the 2.5D nature of like going in the foreground, background as much. It used it as set pieces, but it wasn't like integral to the design of it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I feel like Returns did more of that. For me personally, I definitely think this had better levels overall than Returns, and like overall, like we'll get onto it when we talk about the rankings of the games, but yeah, like for me, I didn't feel like there was any bad levels. I do get where you're coming from. Like even when I looked back, especially more so the first half of the game, I didn't feel like there were like heaps of standout levels, but I just thought they were very decent Donkey Kong Country levels.
Yeah, the level that's playing in our footage at the moment, which is like the sawmill minecart level, I thought was actually really cool as well because you're on a piece of wood that's been cut off by the sawmill and in a boat and go underwater. I think they did some really unique stuff there.
Oh, it's very creative, the game. It's very cool. And then I want to touch on, let's get all the good stuff. Graphics, like just shortly, like amazing in my view. Like this is the best by far looking. And I know I'm always talking about remakes. I'm one of those idiots that was happy to buy things again. Like if they remade the trilogy in this style, far out, man. That's
the exact thought I had. I would just love for them to do that. I don't know. At some point that would make sense, but I don't know why,
Yeah, I don't know if they ever will just because of Nintendo being weird and also Rare. I don't know the rights to it, how it actually works. I mean, like they have re-released the game, so maybe it's totally fine. I just don't know. I don't know how those things work because you can have a publishing deal for a game, but that doesn't mean you necessarily have full rights to do anything with it, depending on how the contracts were drafted. But yeah, I would love that. Like I would pay a lot of money to play it in this style. And then the music, just nothing stood out to me. I don't know how you felt about it.
There were some standouts. To me, this was a massive improvement over Returns. But Returns had a right soundtrack.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like off the back of 3 of the best soundtracks, especially in Donkey Kong 1 and 2, the best soundtracks of all time for me. It was a bit like, but they got David Wise back to help out with the music in this as well, which is great. Still, I don't think it comes close to those first 2 games, but I love Homecoming Hijinks, or it's also called Snowman's Island theme. So that's the theme playing on Cliffside Slide. I think that song is amazing. There's lots of great music, but also it's got a really nice version of Aquatic Ambience, which is always great to hear.
It does. I like that little throwback. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it actually made me think. I didn't really think the music was that outstanding. It was like just a kind of serviceable for me. Like, and it's a very high bar to be fair, because Donkey Kong Country as a series for me has some of the best video game music ever. Like I literally listen to the soundtrack every now and then just in the background on Spotify. So
I think it's good. I think it's good.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, let's get into the bosses and then overall thoughts. You want to start? You want to open the batting?
Yeah, so I hated most of the bosses, but I actually
I love the way you frame it.
They're sick. So most I actually like 2 of them. So technically most.
Okay.
But they all suffer from the same problem. They just drag on.
Yes, thank you.
Fucking long.
They're boring.
You miss one attempt to hit the dude because basically the way they all work is you have to hit the enemy generally 3 times, then move on to the next phase, and there's 3 phases. So they're all kind of structured the same way. You could hit them twice and miss the 3rd hit, and you've got to go through the entire phase of attacks. Even if they're easy to dodge, you've just got to go through the motions each time. Unlike a lot of other games where they give you multiple ways to, and some of the bosses you can in this, but there's usually, opportunities to attack the boss at any point. It's just more difficult maybe, during their attacks phases and stuff. Whereas there's some bosses where you just can't do anything to them until they've gone through all their phases again. It just drags on and on and on.
My note was kind of boring to get through at times if you don't concentrate. Like, I kind of got stuck on boss 2 or 3. I can't recall now. More so I found it boring. I was just like, I couldn't be bothered doing this. Like,
was it the monkeys or the seal?
No, it wasn't. It was the one after that.
The guy that had the big hammer.
The owl or something like that, I think.
Oh, the owl, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that was 2 or 3, but man, it was just, I was just bored. I was just like, oh my God, I don't want to do this whole thing again. My note was a bit different to yours. I didn't think they were, I feel like it's such a waste of creativity, the bosses. I feel like, and this is very arrogant what I'm going to say, is I genuinely feel like, can someone put me in charge of how these boss sequences work? Give me how it's structured right now and let me tune it, right? Because I actually think the bones of it are so solid. Like, in a way, I think the bones of it are literally the best bosses in the entire series, but the way they've executed it is so dumb. Like, their sequences take way too long. Like, maybe you do it in such a way that the first time round it's elaborate, and then every time you replay it, it changes the way it works to being quicker. It's just too fucking long, each fucking sequence. Drives me nuts.
It's like they go, okay, you have a chance to look at one boss from the original trilogy. Okay, let's look at K. Rool 1. The boss that just... And they go, let's base every boss in this game off that big league boss, but that's a last boss.
But even that I didn't find as frustrating, actually. I get what you're saying, and it is like that. It's just, you perfectly articulate it. Each sequence where it goes through the phase takes way too long, and you can't do anything to speed it up. And it's just like, why have they done it like this? Have they actually freaking played it? It seemed bizarre to me.
I actually... Although the controls are a little iffy, I liked the water boss, actually. I thought that was one of the coolest bosses. And I actually liked the last boss, but that 3rd phase was so frustrating. Because I had no issue getting up to the 3rd phase of the last boss. And then suddenly, basically you had to time to land on him during certain sequences, and every other time you can't do anything to him. It's like just getting the timing on that. That's why I busted out Cranky Kong for that boss, because you could
do bigger bounces.
You could bounce down. You could basically jump over him and land on him quicker.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't get used to the timing of it running underneath me.
Yeah.
And so just to get through that, I'm like, oh my God, now I have to go through 4 separate attack patterns that go forever, that are really pretty easy once you know them.
Yeah.
Compared to the last boss of Donkey Kong Country Returns, where the attacks were really hard to dodge until you learnt the weird tricks. That was really difficult. Yeah, but I liked the boss. I actually liked it much more. It's just that 3rd phase just dragged on for so long.
Yeah, it's I can't just emphasize it enough. It's so disappointing in a way, because I genuinely...
Sorry, we're looking at the owl on the screen now.
Yeah.
Oh my God, now I know that what you're saying. It's like, it just takes so long.
It's just boring. It's just because these attacks are not hard to dodge. And then some attacks are not that easy to dodge. Like this one, sorry for the audio listeners. Basically, the enemies are coming down and you just have to roll at the right time. But it's just, like I said, it feels like so wasted premise. They could have been good. They really could have been good bosses. They could have been, I genuinely believe, with very minimal tweaks, these could have been the best bosses in the entire series and would have been one of the standout features of this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a shame. And then just related, bosses / enemies, I agree with you. I respect them that they pretty much didn't do anything with the Kremlins and I don't know what the legal sort of deal with that is. I don't know if Rare owns some of that or how that works. Because it seems weird that they don't reference anything with it. But ultimately, like the Snowmads, I think that's what they're called.
Yeah.
They're just not like, I don't know, it just didn't appeal to me. Like when I got to the final boss, it was just like, oh, okay, this is the final boss. Like it didn't feel like a big baddie or anything like that.
Yeah. It didn't feel very epic, but
yeah.
Oh, well, look, I still like the boss more than the stupid, annoying one of the first one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Cool. Was there anything else you want to cover, or do you want to get into just like, given that we've done a retro on all 5 games, where we think they rank?
I guess, look, I'll just give my overall thoughts on the game. So, as I said, like I really struggled with this game to enjoy. I was not having fun until I hit those later worlds, and then I started to say, hey, this game is fun, but unfortunately, I can't avoid the fact that I just didn't like a lot of what they did. If we're talking about rankings,
maybe I'll just do my overalls then, since you did. It's just a very flawed game, but I really enjoyed it, and I actually think I'll go back and try to get more of the secret levels. You should check out some of the secret levels. They look really, really fun from a platforming perspective. And there's, I think, about 3 secret levels for every world. So it's quite a lot extra.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, they look actually really, really cool. Like they look very, very challenging. And I'm not saying the game's easy, but it just looked like the kind of levels I would like to play and try to, get challenged by and sort of, see where I land on it. So yeah, like let's talk about how we rank these games. And of course,
you've got the visual. You're like, I'm not going to do a visual, and then he's done a visual.
I kept them pretty simple though this time. Let's get through this quickly. Yeah. So
yeah.
Like let's be real. Come on, like Donkey Kong Country 2 is number 1. Yeah. We're not even like
no. I'm ranking different to you.
Far out. Oh, what, we have our own rankings.
Like you're the one that's done this stupid thing. I'm just like, we'll just list our 5 rankings. That's it.
Oh, so you got to have your own, like Sweeney. Is this what we're saying?
I'm not. Donkey Kong Country 2 is not my favorite Donkey Kong. Why are you surprised by that?
I was just trying. No, see. Okay, listeners,
we're not doing a tier list, man.
listeners, big wiggers out there. This guy, like, he's played the biggest trick of all, like with Skyrim and everything like that. I thought he was being genuine with Game of Some Other Year. I won't spoil it for those that haven't watched it, but now I'm very conscious of your tricks, so I have my own little tricks as well. So I was just trying to force Donkey Kong Country 2 to be.
The way that you've listed it now, which is Donkey Kong Country 3 as top, Donkey Kong Country 2.
I've accidentally ranked it the way you've wanted to rank it.
Donkey Kong Country, Donkey Kong Country Returns, and at the bottom, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is my ranking.
That's funny, man.
Did you literally rank it exactly like that?
That's my ranking.
By accident. When I looked at it, I thought, oh, he's going to rank it like this.
Yeah, that's my rank. And Tropical Freeze ended up like redeeming itself, but to me Returns was just much better. I had much more fun. I would love to play Returns with a normal control scheme. I reckon I'd love that game even more.
Yeah, so I put Donkey Kong Country last.
You're a hater. You're a hater of that game.
I just think it's like I look. How often do I say this? I think you have a bit of nostalgia goggles on that game. I think the way it plays, that game's
way better than the new games for me. So
no, but that's your opinion, right?
I know. It's not goggles. It's truth.
Oh, but like you grew up playing, I didn't, and I had a fresh take on it, so I'll just leave it there. So that's clearly the worst by any objective measure. I put Returns actually like 4th.
Ahead of it.
Yeah, I still like that more than Donkey Kong Country. And then like these 3 are all like pretty tight. Like I put, Tropical Freeze ahead of Returns, but maybe it's just because I played it on the 3DS. I do actually think I want to try it on the Wii. And then, yeah, like these 2 games are just clearly like the better games, Donkey Kong Country 2 and 3. I actually like have to say 3 was like over here if it was sort of like, how close it is to Donkey Kong Country 2, but having played the whole thing, and I do want to go back and play more of the secrets, that game is very, very cool. Like, and I do see where you're coming from a lot more. I was very much a stan for Donkey Kong Country 2, but Donkey Kong Country 3 is a great game. What's his name? I've even forgotten what the bloody baby's name is.
Diddy Kong?
Kiddy Kong. I just hate Kiddy Kong as a protagonist.
And as I said, you didn't use his coolest move. You didn't know about it. I don't blame you. They didn't tell you about it. He bounces on the water.
Yeah, I just like, but I don't care about that. Like, I wish maybe I'll play a mod version where it's Donkey Kong that you're playing as.
Nah, you got to use the cool tech. That's why.
No, I'm saying I could use the cool tech, but I just want the character model to be different. I don't know. It's like when people don't like Baby Mario and Yoshi's Island, you know, like I don't mind that, but yeah, I get that people don't like that. So, what do you mean grow up? You grow up.
I don't like the model. I'm going to mod it to make another.
I'm just kind of joking about that, of course. But yeah, look, like it does show that these two games, Donkey Kong Country 3 and 2, are the clear standouts, I think, of the series. And yeah, the new ones are decent. Like, but I kind of put them all in the same bucket. Like, I could pretty much have Tropical Freeze Returns or Donkey Kong Country in different orders depending on the day. But certainly 2 and 3 are like locked in that order. So yeah, no, it was actually really cool fun playing through all of them.
Hang on. Whoa.
Well, you're not doing a ranking. You have the right to do a ranking.
No, I know. I don't get to do a ranking. I have absolutely no say in any of this. But
yeah,
we need a clear winner. You can't just have.
No, we don't.
Yes, you do.
Well, of course he's going to say Donkey Kong Country 2 overall.
Yeah, but he's saying 3. So how are we going to decide?
That's his personal favorite. But I think if we had to say what's Bigwig's official number 1 Donkey Kong Country game, I think it would be number 2, right, Swinny?
I would say let's wait for the Game of Summer the 1995 to talk about Donkey Kong Country 2 again.
So maybe we could put a segment on a little hold, and when I play both 2 and 3, I can give my verdict and decide whether 2 or 3 is the winner.
Yep, I'm sure when the 10th Donkey Kong Country game comes out, you would do that.
Well, I gotta play the 1995 one, so. I think I'll probably play.
You're not going to play any of these games. Well, you have to play 2. You have to play 2 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, let's get into our final feature, Swinny.